The Black Death, also known as the bubonic plague, was one of the most devastating pandemics in human history. It swept across Europe in the 14th century, killing millions of people and reshaping the social, economic, and religious landscape of the continent. Here is a complete history of the Black Death. Origins and spread. 1. Origins in Asia. The Black Death is believed to have originated in the arid plains of Central Asia, possibly in Mongolia. The bacterium Yersinia pestis caused the plague, which was carried by fleas living on black rats. These rats were common in merchant caravans and ships, facilitating the spread of the disease along trade routes. 2. Spread to Europe. The plague likely entered Europe through the trade routes of the Silk Road and via ships from the Black Sea. The first recorded case in Europe was in the port city of Messina, Sicily, in October 1347. From there, it quickly spread across Europe, reaching as far as Scandinavia and Russia within a few years. 3. Global reach. While Europe was hit the hardest, the plague also affected parts of the Middle East, North Africa, and Asia. The disease traveled through major cities and ports, facilitated by the movement of people and goods. Symptoms and effects. 1. Symptoms. The Black Death presented in several forms, but the most common was the bubonic form, characterized by swollen and painful lymph nodes, buboes, fever, chills, headache, and fatigue. There were also septicemic and pneumonic forms of the plague, which were even more deadly. 2. Mortality rate. The mortality rate of the Black Death was extremely high, with estimates ranging from 30% to 60% of the population in affected areas. Some regions saw even higher death tolls. In total, it is estimated that the Black Death killed between 75 million and 200 million people worldwide. 3. Social and economic impact. The Black Death had a profound impact on the social and economic fabric of Europe. With such a large portion of the population dead, labor became scarce, leading to increased wages for workers. However, it also led to a decline in trade and agricultural production, causing economic instability. Responses and reactions. 1. Medical understanding. At the time, medical knowledge was rudimentary, and the cause of the plague was not understood. Many believed it was a punishment from God, and there were widespread instances of religious flagellation, where people would whip themselves in penance. 2. Religious impact. The Black Death led to a crisis of faith for many. The inability of the Church to stop the plague or explain its origins led to a decline in its authority. Some groups, like the Flagellants, gained followers as they preached that the plague was divine punishment. 3. Persecution of minorities. In many places, the Black Death led to the persecution of minority groups, particularly Jews, who were often scapegoated for causing the plague. Pogroms and massacres occurred across Europe, with Jewish communities being destroyed in some regions. Long-term consequences. 1. Population decline. The massive loss of life led to a significant decline in the population of Europe, which took several centuries to recover. The depopulation had lasting effects on the economy, leading to changes in land use, agricultural practices, and social structures. 2. Economic shifts. With fewer workers available, the feudal system began to break down. Many serfs and peasants gained more freedom as they moved to cities or negotiated better terms with landowners. This shift helped pave the way for the eventual rise of a more market-based economy. 3. Cultural impact. The Black Death left a deep mark on European culture. Art and literature from the period often reflect the themes of death and despair. The Danse Macabre, or Dance of Death, became a popular motif in art, symbolizing the universality of death. 4. Public health measures. The Black Death led to the development of early public health measures, such as quarantine. Venice, for example, established the first quarantine stations to isolate ships and travelers suspected of carrying the plague. Recurrences and legacy. 1. Recurrences. The Black Death was not a one-time event. The plague recurred several times over the next few centuries, with major outbreaks occurring in the 1360s, 1370s, and later. However, these later outbreaks were generally less deadly than the initial wave. 2. Legacy. The Black Death had a profound impact on the course of European history. It contributed to the end of the Middle Ages and the beginning of the Renaissance by shaking the foundations of medieval society. The labor shortages it caused also played a role in the decline of feudalism and the rise of capitalism. 3. Scientific understanding. It wasn't until the late 19th century that the true cause of the Black Death was understood, thanks to the work of scientists like Alexander Yersin, who identified the Yersinia pestis bacterium. Conclusion. The Black Death was a cataclysmic event that reshaped the world in ways that are still felt today. Its devastating toll on human life, combined with the social, economic, and cultural upheavals it caused, marked it as one of the most significant events in history.